All right, I'm going to be taking you through a quick hip and knee mobility routine, working for about 1 to 2 minutes in each position before moving on to the next. We're going to be starting with a side-to-side pancake fold where I'm reaching my hand to my opposite foot, starting standing position, my legs out on an angle, feet planted on the floor, toes actively engaged. I'm going to take a deep breath in through my nose. And on that exhale, I'm going to go down the middle. Full exhale and hanging here. Finding your range of motion, continuing to hold those breaths, and I'm going to be reaching, like I said, to the opposite side. I'm bringing my left hand to my right foot. And then you decide when you want to move to the other side. Always switching positions and working deeper into that length on each exhale. The hamstrings are the largest muscle in our body, and they're directly connected to our hips. So it's super important that we always start off working on some mobility by stretching those hamstrings and glutes. Once again, finding motion here and rooting yourself in your breath because it's not a very comfortable position to be in. Bringing it back to center whenever you're ready and returning to standing position. From here, I'm going to keep my feet extended outwards. I'm going to bring my heels in slightly, and I'm going to work down into a sumo squat. Notice I bent the knees slightly, keeping those quads engaged, hamstrings engaged, glutes engaged. Deep breath into my nose and out. Finding that low point for you and getting a little bit of movement back and forth. Really opening up those hips and feeling this in our adductors. That's the inside of our thigh. And up. Now, some of us might only be able to come down to here. Some of us are going down nice and low, sitting down in that stance and finding some motion here, building some strength, noticing as I go from side to side, I'm bringing my knee over my toe on that side. And you will feel this as you bring your knee over the toe a little bit closer to that kneecap. You'll feel that lower part of the quad more actively engaged the farther we bring that knee over toe. And again, once again, just finding some movement here and some stability in that low stance, sumo squat or horse stance, depending on who's coaching you through this. From here, I'm going to walk those feet in a little bit farther. I'm going to work down to a deeper squat now with my legs just over shoulder width apart. I really want to, my goal here is to work down that baby sit position. My feet are flat. My hands are in at center. My elbows are in. My back is still straight here. I'm not bent over. Okay, I'm hinging at the hips. My back is nice and straight. And then I'm standing back up. Slow and controlled. Taking a deep breath in as I'm coming down. Exhaling on my way up. Notice I'm staying down in that squat position for an entire breath cycle, in through my nose and out through my mouth. Once again, strengthening the lower range of my range of motion. So when people are working squats quite often, they're concerned with building that strength all the way down to that seated position, right? We see people squat with the barbell on their back, and we're going down to about here, maybe here, and then we're working our way back up. But what happens when you find yourself in a position where you actually have to go lower than that? That's why it's so important to work through your full range of motion and work to increase your range of motion. And that is why we're focused on the hips and knees today. So once again, I'm taking a deep breath in through my nose and out through my mouth. And you might be here, okay? Maybe you're here. And this is where you're working for now. As you're breathing, trying to lower down in that stance. Maybe you're holding on to a chair for support, whatever it might be, whatever your level, breathe and work to increase that range of motion. From here, we're going to go into a knee down hip flexor stretch. So I'm lowering one knee down to the ground, lowering the opposite knee down. Whichever knee I lower down with first, I'm going to step forward and get that nice hip flexor lunge in there, okay? Stretching the hip flexor, that muscle along the top of your thigh, that quad, all the way up to that hip joint. Briefly bringing the leg back and standing back up into our stance, not fully stood up. We're keeping our legs engaged here, and then repeating on the other side, stepping back with my right, stepping out with my right, leaning and breathing into that hip flexor stretch, feeling that along the top of the thigh here, all the way up to the hip, even in the groin a little bit, and then back and up. Keeping the legs engaged, down on the opposite side, forward on the opposite side, and stretch and breathe, keeping control of your breath the whole time. Once again, you're going for about 1 to 2 minutes in each one of these positions. You really want to work on whatever areas that you need to focus on. It's not about what I tell you to do. It's about what you feel in your body. And how are you going to take what I'm showing you and make it most beneficial for you? All right. I'm going to do this one more time on the opposite side. And relax. I bring my feet together. They can be completely together, shoulder width, a little bit under shoulder width. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to go ahead, deep breath in, out through my mouth, and down to a nice forward fold. Once again, hitting those hamstrings, working to increase that range of motion. You can even put a towel under your feet and use that towel to kind of pull yourself farther down. I like to get a little sway here once again. A little movement in the hips from either side. Pulling that chest to the leg. Remaining relaxed. Letting our shoulders hang and our body just naturally fold forward as much as it can. Finding your breath. And returning to that standing position whenever you feel necessary. Try starting or ending your day with those basic movements. Once again, really listening to your body and figuring out where your tension points are at, breathing through them, working through them, always working to lengthen and strengthen your range of motion. Make the most of your time and move on your time. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.